Student, in previous video we have seen about the natural resources like sun, soil, water, soil, etc. And in this video we will see about the biogeochemical cycle. Biogeochemical cycle means flow of the substance from non-living to living and again back to the non-living. So this cycle we consider as a biogeochemical cycle. So the cycling of chemical elements like a carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur and water as well in a biosphere is called the biochemical cycle. So biochemical cycle means in that the flow of substance from non-living to living and again back to the non-living is called the cycling of the substance, and by this cycling of the substance all the biogeochemical cycle run. Now let's see what is the biochemical cycle. Biogeochemical cycle means the cycling of the chemical elements. Which chemical elements? Like a carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. These all the things is already present into the atmosphere, and along with that water in the biosphere is called the biogeochemical cycle. The cycling of chemical element like a carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur and water in the biosphere is called a biogeochemical cycle. Now, it's operate through a soil, water, air, and along with that a biotic factor. Biotic factor means related to bio means related to living things. Means in for maintaining of this cycle, or you can say for operating of this cycle, the soil, water, air and the biotic factors means the living organism also taking part and also play a very important role. Here you can see the figure of water cycle is given. So first of all we will study about the water cycle. So what is the water cycle? The whole process in which the water evaporates and fall on the land as a rain and later flows back into the sea via rivers is called as a water cycle. Water cycle we already studied in 8th standard or 7th standard. Even though here we have to study, but here we will study in detail. So the definition of water cycle means the whole process in which the water evaporates and fall on the land as a rain and later its flow back into the sea via rivers is called the water cycle. Now first of all, what is the evaporation? Evaporation means a conversion of liquid to gaseous state. Liquid matter is converted into the gaseous state. It is considered as a evaporate. As we know that during the summer season, the temperature of the atmosphere is rise. Due to that, the surface water is get evaporate, means the water is converted into the water vapors. So the conversion of this water into the water vapor is called evaporation. Let's see. When the sun shines, the water evaporates continuously from the water bodies and form a water vapor. So formation of this water to water vapor, this process is known as a evaporation. Then after this water vapor rises up and goes into the atmosphere. The second thing that the plant absorbs the water from the soil and use it during the process of photosynthesis. Then it is also lost the water by the process of transpiration. Now, what is transpiration? The loss of water by the plants is called the transpiration. So, the excessive water which is present in the plant, that water is also evaporate, or you can say the loss in the atmosphere by the process called the transpiration. So, the one that is by the evaporation, the second process that is by the transpiration. The water vapor is produced by the transpiration also goes into the atmosphere. First, by the evaporation process, means when the sunshine, water evaporates continuous to form the water bodies and form water vapor. This water vapor rises up and goes into the atmosphere. The plants absorb the water from the soil and use it during the process called the photosynthesis. And whatever the excess water which is present in the plant, that is lost by the stomata into the atmosphere, and this process is known as a transpiration. Transpiration means the loss of the water by the stomata is called the transpiration. So by the evaporation and the transpiration, the water vapor is produced and it is goes into the atmosphere. The process of respiration and the evaporation from the surface of animal body also produce the water vapor, and which is also goes into the atmosphere. One that is from the evaporation, that the water bodies due to the sunshine it is evaporated and it is converted into water vapor. The second one by the transpiration process. Third, that is by the respiration and the evaporation from the surface of the animal body. It's also produce the water vapor, and that also goes in a upward direction, or you can say in the atmosphere. Now, the evaporation and the condensation of water vapor leads to rain. Now the another terminologies came, it's a condensation. Now what is the meaning of condensation? Condensation means the conversion, a process by which the conversion of the gaseous matter into the liquid state. The gaseous state is converted into the liquid state. Here, as a gaseous state, water vapor is there. And this water vapor is cooled down and again come back into the water, or you can say in a liquid form as a resultant as a water droplets. So this process is known as a condensation. Condensation means the water vapor is cooled down at the atmosphere and it is water vapor is converted into the water droplets. So this process is known as a condensation, and these water droplets come together and fall in the form of rain during the winter, and the water falls down in the form of dew or a snow. So, the evaporation and the condensation of water vapor leads to rain. During winter, the water falls down in the form of dew and snow. Now, all the waters that falls on the land does not immediately flow back into the sea. Some of the it strips into the soil and become a part of an underground reservoir, or you can say the fresh water. And the underground water is again taken by the plant, and by the transpiration it's again go back to the atmosphere. And like this the water cycle is, it will be continuous. Let's see one more time and revise water cycle in detail. Here the diagram of the water cycle is given, and if it is asked in examination, then you have to write down the all water cycle, as well as along with that you have to draw the figure. Here the figure of water cycle is given. Here you can see, due to the heating of the sun, heating of the surface water is get evaporate. Here you can see that evaporation process is occur. Another thing, by the transpiration, the water loss, the plant lost the water and it is also in a water vapor. It also goes up and up, and Another one, by the respiration of the animal, the surface water is converted into the water vapor and again go back to the atmosphere. After that, it is cooling down, the condensation is occur, and as a resultant, the formation of the rain. And this rain is come back on the earth surface, but not the all the water is go into the sea or converted into the sea, or you can say the flow back into the sea, but the some of the water is stored as a groundwater. Here you can see, and you can also consider it as a fresh water. And this groundwater again it's absorbed by the plants, and again by the transpiration this water is evaporate, and like this cycle will continue. Let's see one more time. First of all, we have to write down the definition of the water cycle. The whole process in which the water evaporates and fall on the land as a rain and later the flow back into the sea via rivers is called the water cycle. When the sun is shining, water evaporates continuously from the water bodies. Water bodies means where the water is stored, like a sea, oceans, river, lake, pond, reservoir, etc., and forms water vapor. This water vapor rises up and goes into the atmosphere. The next thing, that is by the plant also play an important role in a water cycle. The plant absorb water from the soil and use during the process called the photosynthesis for the making of the food. But during that photosynthesis process, some of the water is excessive in amount. So that excessive amount of water is lost by the plant. The process is called the transpiration. They also lose the water by the process of transpiration. The water vapor produced by the transpiration is also goes into the atmosphere. The process of respiration and the evaporation from the surface of animal body. It is also produce the water vapor which goes into the atmosphere. Third thing, that is the process of respiration and the evaporation from the surface of the animal body. It produces the water vapor which goes into the atmosphere. Now after this water vapor formation, what happened that we will see. The evaporation and the condensation of water vapor leads to rain. The evaporation and the condensation of the water vapor leads to rain. During a winter, the water falls down in the form of dew or snow. The evaporation and condensation of water vapor, it leads to a rain. Condensation means the conversion of the water vapor into the water droplets by the cooling effect is called the condensation process. So after evaporation, condensation process takes place and this raindrop together making the cloud. When the cloud is heavier, then it is fall as a form of rain. And during the winter season, the water falls down in the form of dew or snow. All the water that falls on the land as a form of rain, it does not immediately flow back into the sea. Why? Because the some of the water is seep into the soil and become a part of underground water, or you can say the underground reservoir or the fresh water. All these water which is come as a form of rain is does not immediate flow back into the sea. Some of it's seep into the soil and it has become a part of underground reservoir of the fresh water. And the underground water is again taken by the plants and by the process called the transpiration. It is again converted that water into the water vapor, and again this cycle will continue. So like this the water cycle is continued. Now the next cycle, that is of oxygen cycle, that we will see in the next lecture. Thank you.